Mike Callahan back with a quick video. I had a question submitted as it's getting time into the year where people are skipping services. So some of the areas of the country, extreme heat waves / drought, and a lot of the lawns are starting to slow down and become dormant in some areas. So question was, how do I go out and handle skips? Basically sent in by the client. So what we did in my company is we actually created a terms of service. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a contract, but what it does is spells out that any canceled service or skipped within 24 hours of the actual scheduled day was a 50% charge. So if the client calls and says, hey, skip the lawn this week, it's burned out, it's dry, doesn't need to be cut, we would charge 50% of the cut. So if it was a $50 cut, we would charge the customer $25. Now you may ask, how did you do that? How'd you get away with that? Well, it was simple. We didn't overbook our schedules, and it was upfront in the estimate. So basically, anytime you skipped your service, if it was within 24 hours prior to the scheduled day, it was a 50% cut. That way it allowed us not to overbook our schedules, do a quality job, and keep that spot reserved in the schedule for the client. Now, if they canceled or skipped when we showed up to the house or before the 24-hour period, it was 100% charge. So if we went out and dispatched those crews and they were on their way, or the guys were counting on those hours, we needed to be fair to the guys and girls on those crews. So we would charge 100% of the cut even if they skipped it. In the early days, we would make judgment calls on lawn mowing. So if it looked burned out, we would skip it. But the problem was when we did that, sometimes we were all the way across town only for one day. And as we skipped it, think we were doing the client a good. Basically, let's say they had a graduation party here as we're getting into graduation season. Maybe they didn't care if the lawn really didn't need to be cut or not. They wanted it really cleaned up and manicured for the party. So we'd have to pay the crew to drive all the way across town again for that one lawn to get it into shape for that party and then come all the way back. So what we did is we left the cancellation or skip request up to the client prior to 24 hours was a 50% charge based on what they were paying. So a $50 cut, they'd pay us $25. That would cover our fixed and variable costs and a minimum profit margin since we weren't allocating that extra overhead out there. And we did not make the decision for them. They had to do it in either writing or an email. Text was fine in the office with two-way texting. And if they did it prior to the mowing, 24 hours or less, we charged 100% of the mowings. That $50 mowing would be billed out at $50. But we did this, and we were able to do this and be one of the first people in our market to really do this with any success. Is we communicated and showed the benefit of what's in it for them, why paying the 50% for the mowing was actually a benefit and not a negative. And that was the fact that we didn't overbook our schedules, we did quality work, and that saved their spot in the schedule for that season and the upcoming season unless they changed their mind. So that gave them the security of a professional that wasn't rushed, and they had their VIP reserved spot in the schedule. So hopefully that helps answer that question, how to handle skip cancellations from your client base during the drought season and the heavy stress season of the lawns that's coming in right now in most of the parts of the U.S. and Canada. Callahan's Corner, you ask the questions, we answer them live right here on Facebook. Any comments or questions, please drop them below, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another pre-submitted question.